everybody, my name is Jenna and today I'm here with yet another Top 5 Wednesday video. Top 5 Wednesday is now being hosted by Sam from the channel Thoughts and Tombs. I will leave her channel and a link to the Goodreads page in the description box below if you want to check either of those ones out. Today's topic is second book is best. Again, this one is fairly self-explanatory. I'm going to be picking 5 books that I think are the best second book in their series. First up, I want to talk about A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This book is so good. When you read A Court of Thorns and Roses, you think that that book is so good and you just love it and you love everything about it. And then you read this book and everything about that book just gets blown out of the water. Okay, this one is amazing. We get to meet a whole new range of characters. We get to see a completely different side of Feyre. She goes from being this kind of, she was never weak to begin with, but she was weaker in the first book and then she becomes such a badass character in this one and I love her for it. Like I said, we get to meet a range of other characters. We get to meet and probably fall in love with Rhysand, who is obviously the best character and I love him so much. And everything about this book just was a huge step up from the first one. So I honestly think that this book is the best. When it comes to A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Wings and Ruin was a really good book as well, but it just didn't have that same impact that A Court of Mist and Fury did, because A Court of Mist and Fury was just so what? You had no idea what was coming, and so for that reason I think this one is definitely the best. Next up, I have a book from a series that I don't often talk about on this channel, except to say that the third book is terrible and that I don't enjoy it, and that is Insurgent by Veronica Roth. This book is of course the second book in the Divergent trilogy, and for me it is definitely the best. So I think one of the reasons that Insurgent is the best is because in this book, Triss and her friends are kind of on the run, so it becomes less of a story about, you know, trying to fit in than it is a story to trying to figure out why you stand out. And I think that the revelation that comes at the end of this book is definitely one of the reasons why it is one of my, why it is my favorite. It is just so shocking, and I remember reading it for the first time going, I did not see that coming even in the slightest, and I just, for that reason, I really loved it. The characters in this book have all undergone such development from the first one and they continue to develop in this book. So that's the reason why I think it is better than the first book, and then everything is better than Allegiant, because Allegiant just had such a good premise. Like, this book leaves it off on such a good premise and there are so many different places they can go, but then you get to Allegiant and it's kind of like, oh, you went that way, that's what you did. Okay, that was bad. It was just not good. It was one of these books where you just like, you messed up pretty bad. So wasn't a fan of Allegiant, but I loved Insurgent. Next up, I have Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. This book is the second book in the Hunger Games trilogy and is of course the best book. I think one of the reasons that I love this book the most is that it has so much of so many different things. So obviously in this one we are traveling with Katniss and Peter around the capital, and for that reason, number one, that is so different, but it's also great because it means we get to see a lot more of the world that we really didn't get to see in the first book. So the world building in this just is completely exponentially better than the world building was in the first one. World building in the Hunger Games was still really good. You know, we did sort of have a bit of a picture of what was going on, but this book gives us a better picture of that because we really get to see inside of each of the districts and get to see sort of what they do and why what the capital is doing to them is so horrible. We actually get to learn a lot more about the capital citizens in this one as well, and while I never ever feel sorry for the capital citizens, I do think that a lot of them are just completely naive, and for that reason it's kind of harsh what happens, but at the same time it's like, I feel like in this world, you know, the characters, they don't choose where they're born, but they can choose to have a different opinion, and a lot of them just don't. And so for that reason I hate the capital citizens kind of a lot, but that's not really what I'm supposed to be talking about. So this book is kind of like broken up into 2 sections. So you have the section in the capital, and then of course you have the section with the 75th annual Hunger Games, which is something that I remember reading this for the first time and reading what happened and just going, oh, okay, yeah, nah, did not see that coming, did not see that coming at all. And then of course this book ends on the biggest cliffhanger. Oh, this cliffhanger was so mean. It is one of the meanest cliffhangers I've ever read about in a story ever. Like, this cliffhanger is like a Game of Thrones cliffhanger, okay? It was nasty, it was not nice. But also in this book we got to meet a whole bunch of other characters, many of whom became instant favorites. People like Finnick, for example. I love Finnick, and also Joanna. Oh my god, I love Joanna, she's so funny. But yeah, so we get to meet a whole bunch of new characters, we get to go to a whole bunch of new places, and just everything about this book was so new and so fun. In regards to how it stood out from the third book, I think the third book had a few issues in the way that it was all wrapped up. It was all wrapped up kind of very quickly and very smoothly, but this book just was such a page turner, just go, go, go the entire time, and I just absolutely loved it. Next up, I have the Scorch Trials by James Dashner. This book is the second book in the Maze Runner trilogy, and is obviously, in my opinion, the best book in the Maze Runner trilogy. So the Maze Runner follows just Thomas and his friends in the maze, whereas this book follows Thomas and his friends from the maze who are now out of the maze and are now in the Scorch. But one of the things that I love about it is that it introduces us to, again, a whole new range of characters, but these characters are so interesting, and it also kind of really starts to shed the light on who Wicked is and what is going on. Although I do have to say that even by the third book, we still don't really know who Wicked is, and we really don't find out until you get to the Fever Code, which is a million years down the track. But with this book, I thought that the Scorch was such a better trial than the maze because it is more of a real life sort of situation, and the kids, they know more of what's going on, so they're able to sort of start to figure out that they want to rebel and all of this sort of stuff. So I think that this one definitely, and it definitely kind of changes your opinions on a lot of the characters as well. Like there's one character in particular I can think of who does something really awful and terrible in this book who a lot of people are trying to defend, and I'm like, nah, no, it's just not good. And you can probably guess who I'm talking about. This book is also the one where we're finally kind of introduced to some love interests for Thomas, which is always something fun in books. So I just think that this one is just a lot of fun. I say a lot of fun, but like it's also really horrible and, you know, death and bad things. As to how it stands up against the Death Cure, which I believe is the third book. Yeah, the Death Cure. The Death Cure for me just was a lot of running around and not really a lot of plot, and I struggled with Death Cure because I struggled with the way that it ended. I thought that it ended way too abruptly and just really like, okay, so that was the plan the whole time. I don't know, I liked this book better than I liked the other two. And last but not least, we have The Evolution of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodgkin. So this book is the second book in the Mara Dyer trilogy, and I have to say that the Mara Dyer, the first book, The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, was so good because Mara is such an unreliable narrator, and you sit there and you're reading it and you're like, what is wrong with you, child? I don't understand you. Basically is the whole thing that I had through through Unbecoming. So this one, Evolution of Mara Dyer, starts out where you're just like, Mara, what the shit, basically, and the book kind of continues in like, but it still has Mara as this really unreliable narrator. It's got these issues with Noah, and we're meeting all these characters and we're starting to fall in love with these characters, and we're also sort of starting to understand who Mara is and why she can do what she can do. So in the first book was more of an introductory sort of thing. The third book was kind of, you know, the ending, but ended weirdly. A lot of these books that I have picked have just ended either really abruptly or have had issues that they wrapped up too smoothly, in my opinion. And this one was definitely one of them. The third book in the series just kind of ended, and I just went, oh, okay, yep, that's one way to go about it. So this book was a lot of fun though, and it was really creepy to get through, and I just really thoroughly enjoyed it because it was a lot of fun. It was fun as a book about an unreliable narrator who somehow keeps killing people can be. So there you have it. Those are 5 books that are the middle in their series that I think are the best books in that series. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section below what books you think are the best second books in a series. I would love to know. If you like this video, be sure to give it a huge thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Stay random. Bye.